So folks, I know it's been a week, but who still remembers what we learned in the last chapter?
Memory and learning.
Oh, great job! See, you have moved that knowledge into long-term memory, which is the relatively permanent and limitless storehouse of the memory system. Connectionism views long-term memory as a product of the interconnected neural network. Who remembers the other two parts of the Atkinson-Shiffrin three-stage model?
Sensory memory and short-term memory. It goes step by step. Basically, you process information from sensory into short-term and then into long-term memory. Well, you can also forget in the middle.
Very correct. Well, also now we also call short-term memory working memory because we focus more on conscious, active processing of information input or of information retrieved from long-term memory. Our brains process sensory memory into short-term memory through rehearsal. Without rehearsal, sensory memory fades away rapidly.
I remember there's another long-term thing. Oh, TLP. I remember that is a neural basis of learning and memory, and our neurons and hippocampus are involved because they display great plasticity.
Very true. And please know what parallel processing means. That means we process many aspects of a problem at the same time, but how?
I know, dual track. This is what draws the line between us and AI because AI could only use serial processing that does not involve unconscious mind.
So, according to processing model, memory forms in 3 steps: encoding, storage, and retrieval. So, for the first step, if we are encoding explicit memories, we need conscious efforts and attention, which is referred to as effortful encoding. But we may also encode implicit memories, whose retention is independent of conscious recollection. In explicit memory system, frontal lobe processes different types of memory, like a visual scene. Thalamus involved in sensory and motor signal relay and the regulation of consciousness, and hippocampus acts as a loading dock where the brain registers and temporarily holds the elements of a remembered episode. In implicit memory system, cerebellum plays a key role in forming and storing memories through association, and basal ganglia receives input from the cortex. But, come on, you guys should know this.
So it does not return the favor of sending information back to the cortex for conscious awareness of procedural learning.
Thank you. Also, please know the levels of processing theory. You have either shallow or deep processing. Depends on whether you put effort or not. So let's work hard, guys. A quiz is always possible.
But Professor, according to spacing effect, practice does not necessarily make perfect. Smart practice does. Instead of cramming, we better use distribute practice so that we produce a better long-term recall. Self-testing is very helpful too.
Those are very good tips for studying. And yes, also remember to sleep more because it is really crucial to memory processing for later retrieval.
Then can we have less homework so that we can get more sleep?
That's kinda...
But isn't that true that significant stress can cause almost indelible memories? I'm stressing out over psych homework every day, Professor. I do believe that my amygdala has been so provoked by my stress hormones.
I will second that.
Well, I'll consider that since you guys seem to have learned about those concepts really well. But now let's keep going. On the opposite side of memories, we have forgetting. Anyone can list the different reasons of why we forget things?
Well, so there is encoding failure, which means that we fail to translate information into the form that is able to enter our memory system. And there is storage decay, which basically means memory just fade away all the time. And also when we are studying Freud, we study repression, which means that if the memory is unacceptable, we may just prevent it from entering our memory system, like conscious one.
What about retrieval failure?
I get this. It includes the tip of tongue phenomena. Basically sometimes when I try to remember a word but I just can't, but it feels so imminent, feeling like I'm almost there.
Come on, Andie, give me a chance to talk. Proactive interference is a disruptive effect of something one have already learned on one's effort to learn or recall new information. Retroactive interference instead is different because it is more about things that we already newly learned. There's also amnesia, that is loss of memory. There are two types. First is anterograde amnesia, meaning that one could recall their past but could not form new memories, and retrograde amnesia, which is like one could not recall one's past or could not form any long-term memories.
Good job, you guys. Seems like you got this on part. We will move on to memory reconstruction errors. Remember confabulation? It means creating fabricated, distorted, or misinterpreted memories about oneself or the world without conscious intention to deceive. And following that, we have the Elizabeth Loftus studies, which introduces us to the two effects.
I know one, the misinformation effect, which means that basically when we are exposed to misleading information, we are likely to misremember.
Another one is imagination effects, that is repeatedly imagining non-existent actions and events that can like create false memories.
Good job, you guys. Now, move on to amnesia. There is a type called source amnesia or source misattribution, which is like you can retain factual knowledge, but you can't remember where, when, and how you acquired the knowledge. A word corresponding to that is déjà vu, meaning the false sense that you've already experienced the current situation. So, false memory may be something that did not happen, or something that did happen but in a different way. Experiments have been done on children called eyewitness recall, and we learned that after repetitive interviews of certain events, children produce false stories regarding one or more events they have never experienced. Due to this finding, there are a lot of controversies regarding child sexual abuse cases, which were never questioned.
That's kind of sad.
That's why psychologists should find ways to help people, including improving their memory.
That's super true. So let's do a quick review. What are the 7 ways to improve our memory?
Sleep.
Rehearsal.
Make your memory materials meaningful.
Activate retrieval cues.
Uses mnemonic devices.
Minimize interference.
Test your own knowledges both to rehearse it and also to find out what you don't know yet.
Wow, isn't it amazing that you're using your memory to retrieve knowledge about memory? Interesting.